day. And I was to wake up really motivated. Like sometimes I wish there was no sleep. I just want to keep doing this. And the thing is, I
Wow.
had to do this while my parents are sleeping because if my father like wake up and see me like I'm still on the computer, I would get my ass whooped. Because I was like, yeah, electricity. How could you like waste all this energy? You're playing. That's all the time. It was like kind of really weird. I wasn't allowed to get money. I didn't have my national ID card, so I had no bank account. I was just a child, so I'm not even allowed to work. I had to study.
You're listening to Art Heroes Podcast, the show to help you thrive as a digital artist. Tune in to learn how to transform your passion into a career. Get inspired by other kick-ass 2D and 3D artists and find out what it takes to be an art hero.
Hello, 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 everyone. I'm Maria JD. I'm your host here at Art Heroes Podcast. Welcome and thanks for tuning in. If it's the first time, guys, for you to listen to the show, I'm just reminding that it's a show made for digital artists, helping you to grow and to train your artistic muscle, talking about opportunities in the field of digital art. And today we have quite an interesting episode where it's really all about growing no matter what. We're going to be talking with Salim Ljabli, who's a Moroccan self-taught artist, and he has an epic story. For him, nothing came easy, and he went way above and beyond. So please welcome Salim. I'm sure you're going to absolutely love that. All right. Hello, Salim. Very much thank you for coming on the show, guys. This is Salim Ljabli, and we're now live on air. Hi, Salim.
Hi, thanks for inviting me, and I'm kind of really happy like to be here.
Sure, thanks. Like the pleasure is all mine, definitely. And we've got a lot planned. We were just chatting before this, and I
Yeah.
made two huge mistakes of not turning on the recording twice because there was a lot of interesting material, but we were just talking, and I was just like, never thought that we're going to cover so much ground before. Well, anyways, we're going to do it again now,
That's
Salim.
fine.
Yes, and let's just start with your story. How did you
Okay.
get started as a freelance digital artist? Like, how
Yeah.
did you just get into it?
Okay. Well, first it was kind of a hobby. Like I was doing like modes for games. It was kind of like hacking the game and trying to introduce new, probably like new vehicles to the game. That
So, how
wasn't
old were you?
that I was around like 14, I guess.
So, what do
Yeah,
you mean,
14.
like hacking the game?
Well, it's not like hacking like to sell something or something. It was like getting the tools that are similar to the one used by the developers to make a vehicle go in game.
So, did
Because
you
normally,
did you like open the file, or what did you do?
the thing is, there was like a lot of forums where a lot of like developers used to post like similar tools, and they give you like these tools for free, so you can use them and introduce new things to the game and make the game a little bit more enjoyable at some point. Like when you finish the game, you have no interest in playing the game again. But if you get like this kind of tool and you really enjoy it, you can introduce a lot of new things, and you see like things that you make outside like the game, make them like inside the game. For example, like I was like playing in Need for Speed, and I was like, man, all these plates they looks are from foreign. Like, what if I have like a Moroccan plate in the game? And then I was like, okay, that's cool. Let's just make one. And I made like a texture. It was like an MS Paint, like Microsoft Paint software. And I made like, it was like all like, it was crappy. Like it was, but it was there. It was something different from my own world, like projected into the virtual world, like in the computer. It was really
Amazing.
funny. I invited all my friends from the neighborhood, and everyone like was like, come, I'm gonna show you like something really cool. You see like this game is like, yeah, we've played this game. No, 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 come, I'm gonna show you something really different. And I showed them like the vehicle with the license plate, like a Moroccan one. It was like my father's car license plate. I was like, dude, how did you get that? I was like, it's a secret. I cannot tell you guys. And then I started doing this and doing this. And at some point I was like, start making like wheels for the car. Like there was like the stock wheels. I make like different wheels and introduce them into the game. And then I invited my friends. Like, do you have this kind of wheels in your game? It's like, no, you gotta tell me like this. Like you have to unlock something. I was like, no, it's kind of different. and
Jesus Christ,
and it
this is so
started getting
hilarious.
like this. It was like just like having friends, like having fun, and like introduce something from my own world into something like that was like for us. Like in Morocco, that's kind of like the future for like probably like so many years. Like until now, there is no like gaming company or
Yeah,
nothing, almost like nothing. There was like this kind of like Ubisoft. I was like just small thing
yeah,
somewhere.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, your first software for graphic design was Microsoft Paint, obviously.
Yep. That was
And
like the first thing. Like I used to spend a lot of time in Microsoft Paint and PowerPoint. Not sure like if
oh my
it,
God,
wa-
this is so amazing.
it's kind of crazy. But the thing is, I used to have all these clip arts. They were like named clip arts or whatever. Like just the small icon with like a duck or
Mhm.
whatever, like arrows and stuff like this. I used to collect all this like in print screen and try to compose the images and try to make something like it was it was like primitive life of digital art.
Crazy. Well, I mean, now
Yeah,
looking at what you do with digital humans, it's pretty amazing to see the
yeah,
transition from Microsoft Paint to that.
yeah. Well, that's probably like the how life goes. Like
Yeah,
you're a small kid, you can't move, then you start walking, then you start running, then you start jumping, then cars, and like
yeah.
you're always like getting
So
to the next level.
definitely. So, did you have the period of transition, and what was it like? What was the whole learning curve for you after, I guess, school to getting your first job in the industry?
It was kind of weird for me. Like I was in first year in high school when I started like getting offers to work, and I was like in the first year in high school. I was like, I'm not even ready to talk in English. Like my reading for English was like, I can't even read English. I used to use like there was like this soft. It was called Power Translator. Not sure like if you remember this one.
Probably not this one, but I can imagine what's that
Oh,
about.
yeah, there was no Google. There was no. I used to use like Alta Vista or like Hasta Vista. Or, I don't remember like the name, but that was like the searching like the searching engine back then. So and I was like my second language was like French, and that was like probably like my second language was, but I used to talk with it like as if it was like my first language. And what I used to do is take a lot of like PDF and translate them, learn like the small thing, like the help of any software and translate it from English to French. And I start learning and then I start making sense that this word means this in French, this word means this in French, and then stuff. This now like this is like the beginning, like this is how I start like getting my dictionary to grow.
So this is crazy. Basically, you did have to learn the software skills, but at the same time, you had to learn soft skill, which is language skills, no? Like
Yeah,
English,
well,
because that's the main
yeah,
industry language.
well, I've started to learn like the language and then the software. Like, if I make sense like of the word, then I know like what it's gonna do, and then I start practicing with it and experiment with it. That was like the beginning of the beginning. Like that's how I saw really start like making sense of things.
And so basically for you, the first job offers that you're talking about, they were like right away online. How did people find you?
The thing is, back then there was like forums where you used to post your work. For now, like there is like this kind of like polycount and stuff like this. But back then there was like really huge community out there. Like people are there posting tutorials, progress of their work. Everyone is helping everyone. Everyone is like giving feedback. Like the first thing you post, the only thing you're looking for is feedback from everyone. So that's how everyone like used to grow in those kind of forums. It's not like nowadays like Facebook, you post and you're looking for likes. Nobody likes your work. Like when you start, it's kind of how could anyone like someone's like just starting, like it doesn't even make sense for himself.
I
And
absolutely
then you
love
have
that.
to well, the thing is like we're living in a really strange world right now. Like people are seeking for others' opinion and approval while themselves they don't approve what they're doing.
That is true. That is
It
true.
is it is also like crazy. And when you and the notion when you give feedback, it feels like an attack to everyone. While that's how you're gonna grow, that's how you're gonna improve yourself, and that's how you're gonna understand what you're doing to the level that you will be able to approve what you're doing without the help of others and become really mature in what you're doing, that you understand this is what makes this one a good art, or this is what makes this one uh, a working like working asset for a game, or working asset for cinematic, or this is what makes this work a quality work.
Wow. So how did you get your feedback when, back in the day?
I've started like posting in forums. There was these two forums. It was like CG cars and they were like SM cars. They was really known back then. There was like probably like the main forums for everyone who does vehicles or how to face modeling in general. And there was like really huge community there, and they were really skillful artists. Like I've seen like if I look back to that time, and I was like, the amount of skillful like people back there, I was like, that was like for me, like it was like the peak of that was like probably the highest level that you can get in hard surface modeling. Like what I see now with all the advanced modeling tools and stuff, they used to do that way back to like 2006, 2007, 2008. They were really skilled. And there was like the tools back then, they were like really like, it was like hard labor work. It wasn't like really what's now, like you got nerves, you got a lot of these things. But they were like people really dedicated. They really loved what they're doing. You can expect people to do like probably 3 projects in a month and finish every one of them.
But why do you think this has changed?
They didn't change. They have like really high position now.
Ah,
that's the good
okay.
thing.
So you're saying that
Yeah,
there's just like different
but
people, and people that are like
yeah,
working nowadays, they just have different level.
yeah. But the difference, what really changed is that from that point to this point, the transition, it was kind of like dark in a way, like where people used to use the community to improve themselves, to push the whole community forward. But now that nowadays everyone is seeking for like its own, I don't know how to say that, but like approve, like if everyone approves what he does or like she does, that's enough. If they likes his work, if they share it, that means that he is a really successful artist. And if you look at their work, you know that there is really a huge room of improvement. And the thing is, it becomes really a rude thing to give a feedback on something that everyone is liking. Like you
Okay, yeah,
become
I
like,
hear what you're saying.
even like if you express like your liking to the subject, like if probably a project something, like yeah, this is really good project, but it could be pushed here. Like just this notion that you say that it could be pushed here, people will start to see us like, yeah, this guy is never satisfied. Yeah, this guy is never happy. Yeah, he thinks that he's above us, all of us. He thinks that he knows better and stuff like this, because people start to get like full of themselves just from how people like react to
So,
what they do.
so do you think you've got the online reputation of the grumpy kid?
I guess in a way, yeah. And and the thing is, people who get like closer to me, they know that I'm really the opposite of that, because they know that I'm always like pushing for excellence. And I don't really, it's not that I, even like when I give feedback, it has never been to say that I'm better than you or I understand better than you. but it's just, this is a suggestion for you, so you can, if you understand this, I'm probably sure that you can get to a better place than when you are right now.
I love that. Salim, so now that we're talking about feedback, like maybe you can give or summarize it somehow in maybe like 2, 3 points. How do you deal with negative feedback? So imagine you are an artist and you just got a bunch of negative feedback from your client or your boss or your colleague. So how do you deal with this? Like step 1, step 2, step 3?
Well, the thing is, it's kind of funny. Like I somehow never dealt with this, like negative feedback, but that I have to do this because I always like, this is like the critique version of me. Like I always like most of the time try to critique myself before like anyone like does it. And I put all the effort and energy to provide like probably like the best version before the client say, oh, okay, I didn't like this, could you change it? So I try to represent like something that is kind of like polished and like it represents like the time frame that I've been working on. So when I get the feedback, it's easy for me to spot the kind of feedback. So
Okay.
it's easy for me like to even like feel the energy from the other side, if it's a bad energy, if it's a feedback for us to improve, or is it just to talk? Because I've dealt at some point with some really weird feedback where people like give me feedback on something they didn't even study. It was like just to
I think
talk,
all
just
the
to say,
artists
yeah.
have to do that because in most cases, clients don't study this. They don't
It
know
was
as much
like,
as you know.
well, the thing working as a freelance artist, you don't really work directly with the client. You're working with someone who works for the client. So, for example, if I'm a freelance, I freelance for a company that's gonna produce for example, a trailer video or something for a client. But for me, they are my client, but the whole project it's something for another client. So even if you approve it, if the other client doesn't approve it, I have to redo the job. Like even if I don't like your approval,
Okay.
you get
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
the
definitely.
point.
100%. Yeah. But still, technically,
So
they're your client.
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So when I present something, I know like exactly if this is just for just saying that yeah you can do this, or because I get to work with some, I did work at some point with some lead artists, which I don't know, like they've been there for so long that they've been promoted as a lead artist or something, and they try to always like put their fingers in what others do. Like if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. I
Okay.
mean, this is the rule. Like if it's working, it's aesthetically looking good, you can't pinpoint what's the problem, just don't do the talking unless you have something that is really okay. For example, if you tell me like if I send you for example a face and you say this looks really weird, I may feel it. I was like, okay, weird. I will revisit it and revisit it. Maybe like show it to a lot of people that has nothing to do with the field and get their feedback, get the feedback of my friend, and things like this, so I can pinpoint what's really weird about it. But if you're just saying, okay, I don't like his skin is dark. I like more of a white skin or something like that. Something really weird like this. That makes no sense. Like the initial concept was like dark skin. Okay, I'll do it this way.
Okay.
If you're like, no, make it bright, and then I send it to you, and the client says, okay, there is changes. You get in this kind of circles. That is kind of weird. But the best thing to deal with things like this kind of negativity, is to always welcome it.
I love that.
For me, like most of my clients know that I am a very understandable person. Like if they tell me like we gotta change this, I will change it. Like give them like also like why I did this thing and what I think about it.
Okay. So
But the change,
be reasonable and explain your standpoint.
yeah, because sometimes your client might not see what you're seeing.
Okay.
And sometimes they may see also things that you can't see. So if they try to sell a feeling or an idea and they give you something that doesn't really show that, even if you make it like at the best level, it's still not showing that feeling. And once they communicate what they're really trying to sell, it makes things really easy for you to implement like the tools you have to show these kind of features to sell that project. But when the client just send you like a small brief saying, yeah, we need this guy, and then there's no, this is the villain guy, and you make him a really handsome guy. Like, how could that like be a villain? Like he has like really kind person features. And then it's like, okay, it's not selling as a bad guy. Well, that's the whole thing. Like the whole brief was kind of wrong and it has to be like
So
redirected.
so basically, after you welcome the feedback, after you make the changes, and you communicate this to client, would you be like, would you be okay to like changing it again and like talking about it more?
Of course, for me, like that's how I work. Like
Okay.
uh, I always like make sure that the experience I have like with my client is that we are almost like level, and he can like feel free to give me any feedback they have, like anything, like even it can be like small thought, like on what I'm working, and I do like the same. It's kind of an exchange on the same level. Like they tell me what they think, how we can improve this. I always try to engage my
Yeah.
client in what I do, unless they know like they have like something really specific and they say, okay, do this. You make the benchmark, and you know this is what we want, and you're free to just hit this kind of benchmark, and that's it.
But this is different, you know, when we're talking about feedback from a client, it's typically practical, or at least it goes towards the purpose. What happens with the online negative feedback? I'm sure that you post stuff on Facebook and on other forums and whatnot. Then what happens if you have like a couple of people that are just, you know, rambling around?
Well, the thing is, I had to deal with this like at very young age. Like when you really strive to be like the best in what you do, there is always people who's gonna hate on you. Like this is you can run away from this. Like when you always like trying to push everyone, everyone's gonna hate on you because not everyone want to get to that level. But you're always like very exigent. Like there is a certain demand what you do. Like you cannot settle for what everyone, and people think that it's something that you try to make yourself higher than them, but it's something really personal. It has nothing to do with the other people. Like this is how I am. Like if I do this like something really good today, I really strive to make it better tomorrow. It has nothing to do with you or your success or whatever like other person. It's something really personal to me.
I love that.
When- yeah,
Thank you for
and when you
saying that.
start
I think it's
growing,
amazing. Yeah.
and when you start growing, there are people who will start with this in the same level as you, but then you start growing and outgrowing them really fast, and they don't know why you're doing this. Like they feel like you're trying to like, I don't know. It's really weird. Like I don't like sound like someone like who,
Yeah.
the
Very
more
cool.
you try to explain these things, the more uh, arrogant you might sound or something, but it has nothing to do with
Yeah.
that. It's self-improvement, and people like tend to compare themselves to others.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I don't like to do to myself. I never compare myself to anyone, and I get like kind of offended when someone try to compare me to another person. It's not that the other person isn't good enough or whatever. It's just that we are really different. Like
Yeah.
how I'm made, it's completely different to how the other person is made. Like our perspective, like our like point of view of like success, it's really different. Like if you're playing, like if you start really from a plain ground and you get to the top of the mountain, and someone like living in the middle of the mountain and got to the top, yeah, you're both in the top. That's true, but it's not the same situation. Especially if you're living and you've been living in the middle of the mountain for so long, someone who take like really long to get there might get really stronger than you just by that experience getting to that same level where you are at your beginning.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay,
Well,
so this it's kind of different. So the struggle getting to the top, it's not the same,
yeah, very cool.
and it will
So
never be the same.
like I really like your approach to that. And what also seems pretty interesting to me is your pipeline and your approach to growth as
Yeah,
an personal improvement. So we had a brief conversation about this before. So can you
yeah,
share like your model, because you've said that you've been operating this way for so many years.
yeah.
So yeah, how do you learn new stuff? Because you also changed dramatically, like from being a vehicle artist and like working in a hard surface to pretty much portraits and organic. So how did you do this? What's your learning process?
For me, like whenever I want to learn something, I always like take a little bit of time off from whatever I'm doing. It can be like just even life, like the usual thing you do. It's not like a pose, like a going to bed, but just yeah, just stopping the things you do every day, and maybe like take 10 minutes, because I get to a point in life when I know like 10 minutes with yourself can be like really valuable, because most of people nowadays, they are really busy. They don't go like, for example, next to the beach and just say, okay, where am I now and where should I get like tomorrow? Nobody does this nowadays. They're just plans, following the trend, following this, following that, following that. They never sit down with themselves and say, okay, I am probably like, for example, I'm 20 years now. What do I have? What are the things that I'm really good at? And what are like the things that I can improve to get to this point, or this point in life, or this point? How can I get there? When you do this, like this is probably the first step in your life when change is going to start happening. And just from this point, if you do this, for example, 2 times a week, or maybe like 7 times a week, it starts to become your change. That's the change happening. It's happening like slow, but it's moving. That's where your habits, you start to notice those kind of pattern when you start losing time, wasting a lot of energy. Maybe like you have a lot of people sucking all your energy, wasting time doing like probably like bad habits or whatever, like things that doesn't bring joy to your life, but it's there just to fill the time. And when you stop doing all this stuff, you start to find yourself with plenty of time, focus, and a motor, so you can use it to drive yourself to the next point. If it's like learning a new language, learning a new software, uh, like starting anything in life, you have time in your hand, you have yourself in where you stand, like this is like the ground where my feet are.
And
So
then, like, what are for you when you realize what exactly you need to do, or when you kind of like make this mental plan of attack,
yeah,
um like how would you take action? And as an example, when you decided that, okay, Salim, now I'm not happy with making cars anymore, I want to make humans, what was your process?
dedication.
Okay,
I
so you
will
just
wake
like
up
went
like
and
the next
studied.
morning. Yeah, I will make a program for myself. I will go like into like, how we call it, like the army program or whatever it's called. Like, like where you go, like, and you have to wake up at 6 in the morning, start doing routines that you're not used to, just to learn something. Like for me, like it was like, okay, I would start like waking up at 8 a.m. And I was like, I had free time. Like I used to wake up like at 10. So it was like kind of like 6:30. I have to wake up at 6:30. 7, I should be like done with my breakfast and everything, take a walk, go back. Like the walk was mainly to just plan my project and what I'd be doing, then get back at 8 o'clock. I would start my learning. I open the software, start just wandering in the software, exploring the buttons, try to make sense of the whole thing, because it was kind of like, it was for me like the beginning. it was a whole different world. Like it was different language, different field. I had nothing to do with that. I was like the kid, like coming from like papers and playing on the street. They were like the third world playing kids, like whatever, like just like throwing rocks and like just running everywhere. It was like kind of like the usual back to like the kids from the 90s or like 80s.
And so,
And
but
that's it.
then, yeah, but eventually, from like doing pretty high-end projects in cars, you shifted to doing pretty high-end projects with organic sculpting.
Yeah, the thing is, it was like, how did I get to do like the cars and do them like at a high level? I started learning like just the basics. And I tried to get like feedback on the basics, try to understand them, like really get like to understand every step and the reason behind it. It wasn't just like, okay, this is how you do to model a wheel. No, why do I do this? Like, why should I take this path and not another path? And then I started exploring. And the cool thing was that back then there was no internet around the house. Like I didn't have internet at my house. So I had to go like to cyber cafe and and I had to pay around like the equivalent of like $1 just for a half hour. So and the internet speed was really slow. So I didn't really have a lot of time to spend there because I don't have money because I didn't came from a rich family or something. My my family was like above poor. We're not poor, but we're not we're not even like in the middle class. You know, we're living. That was kind of it. So I had to manage getting the money to give to the cyber coffee guy and stand there on the computer, download the files, download the PDF, take all these files back to home and start reading it and try to make sense of things that is kind of like really different to anything that I've experienced in life before. So, and from there, I started making sense of the basics, learning the basics, and I kept going like probably like once a month or twice a month to the cyber cafe just to post what I'm doing, learn online where people are posting. Sometimes what I used to do is go to the forum and go to someone who does a project and he's posted like uh, progress of their project, and I download all his images and take them with me so I can understand. Yeah, he started from this, then he made this, and most of these guys they were like seniors in lead vehicle artists back then. So when they start posting, I take all the images, save them, and start like studying them like religiously. Like I had to make sense of all this. And then when I come like the next month posting my work, it was kind of like almost on the same level they did it. And I used to wake up like at 6 in the morning and probably go to sleep around 1 in the morning. So I had like around 5 hours sleep. And then the next day, and I was to wake up really motivated. Like sometimes I wish there was no sleep. I just want to keep doing this. And the thing is, I
Wow.
had to do this while my parents are sleeping because if my father like wake up and see me like I'm still on the computer, I would get my ass whooped. Because I was like, yeah, electricity. How could you like waste all this energy? You're playing. That's all the time. It was like kind of really weird.
But then you mentioned like then eventually you started making money with this, and that's, I
Uh,
guess that's the
yeah.
solution.
Well, the thing is, like for them, like I was like I said, first year in high school, and for them, you cannot make money while you're in first year in high school. That's something against all the how you call
Yeah.
it like
No, definitely, I understand.
all the
Yeah.
rules. So they won't like understand that this is what I'm good at what I'm doing, and I don't even need to study to get to that job that you want me to get just to get paid. And they kind of like didn't let me get the money from the work, so I was working for free in 2005. I was like working for free
Why that?
2005.
How come?
The thing is, the I wasn't allowed to get money. I didn't have my national ID card, so I had no bank account. I was just a child, so I'm not even allowed to work. I had to study. So not sure like if you get the
Yeah, yeah,
idea.
yeah, for sure, for sure, for
So
sure.
yeah, and the thing is, when they learn that I can make money, and when I said there are people who want to pay me for what I'm doing, they think that it has something with terrorists. There's like so those people like seeking for those like genius guys, just to pick them, and they like try to like seduce them with the money so they can take them and use them for something else. I was like, no, this has nothing to do with that. And I was like, no, you study, and if I see you like using the computer again, I will kick, I will kick you again.
Wow.
So for me, basically, the big struggle, it wasn't really like learning itself. It was getting to do what I really want. So I was always like getting beat up for what I'm doing right now.
Definitely different level of struggle, Salim.
Yeah, I was like every day like whooped, like uh, all the kind of like weird thing that's like all kind of punishment so I can just focus on my studies and not do this. Yeah, and it gets to like a higher level the more I start to shift toward this, like to what I'm doing. Like, and my parents like they knew like I always had like really good grades, especially like in mathematics and physics and stuff, but they really wanted me like to stay there because that the environment where we live, they praise doctors, they praise like engineers, they praise like this kind of people. Like if you have um, like this kind of jobs, if you have one of those jobs, you're a higher being,
Hmm.
like above all the other, because everyone is poor, nobody's making money, nobody can make money, and these people are the one who makes money.
So, Salim, and I mean, I get that, and like, amazing job on overcoming this. I don't know
Yeah,
what eventually took you. I see with that you made it, so that's amazing.
yeah,
So,
that's
and then now, how do you study now? Do you still make a self-organized boot camp for yourself when you need to study
that's
something new?
yeah, that's what I always do. Like for me, what I do is when I'm really focused and really attract to something, I try to make a living for like a couple of months. Probably like it could be like even I can like do like 3 to 4 big projects at the beginning of the
So,
year,
kind of
and
a
maybe
save
finish.
up.
Yeah, and I save for 6 to 7 months of like rent and like whatever can bring. And then I start doing like my sort of like a boot camp. So I wake up really early in the morning and I start studying what I want, like the subject I want to study. And I start like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I wake up the next day doing the same thing for a really long period of time till I get to the point when I see, okay, this is something I can export now. Like, like the level where I get now, I can export it and talk about it like freely without being bothered by any question. Like I know like this is something that I've almost mastered or maybe like mastered
You mean negative
during the
feedback?
process.
So minimize negative feedback from like the clients.
Well, the thing is, I'm really harsh on myself more than any like feedback out there.
Gosh,
Like
of
people,
course. Now I can like now
yeah,
I totally believe you. You've been you've
like,
you've been living in boot camps for half of your life.
and the thing, like people who are around me, like even like artists, like who really get to know me like up close, they know that I might like throw like feedback on myself that is really harsh and funny, and that's part of my personality. Like I always like try to present it as a funny thing so I can work on it. It's never a huge deal. So the moment you start to treat feedback as a problem, that's the problem itself. A feedback is supposed to help you grow. Like when
Yeah.
someone tells you, like, for example, like uh, if you don't know how to draw a lips or something, if someone's point out that you can draw lips, he already solved one of your problems. So now instead of wondering, you know that you have to work on lips. It's
Yeah.
it's this easy.
Yeah.
And if you take it like, no, yeah, I can do this now. Who are you to tell me this and that? You will never grow. And one of those things is that growing in a family, trying to impress your parents who have different like ideas, different background, and they are never happy with whatever like you bring to the table. Uh, it 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 makes this kind of like impression embedded in yourself. And at some point, you know that you're never enough, even like when you do like the best of the best of yourself, because you're trying to please people who change constantly. And
Yeah.
even like during the process, you're also like changing and growing. So if I do like 10 steps today, tomorrow I know that I did 10 steps yesterday. So I know that I could at least do 11 or 12. So
Hmm.
today, my next step should be at least 12.
I'm sure that sounds very relatable to many, like not
Yeah.
being able to be enough.
Yeah, and that's not, it's not, it has never been like just specific to 3D or like 2D. It's for me like it's in life. Like I have other passions, other things that I do in life. I always like try to do like the best, but I never live in the best. That's what people
Hmm.
don't realize. Like it's something that you're always working toward to, but you're never there because it's a whole journey and it never ends. As long as you have this energy and this drive and you're stable like mentally, you're
Hmm.
always like going that way.
And like one last topic that I really wanted to touch on, it goes about like you being from Morocco, and we've just seen that it's a whole different scenario and it's a whole different starting point than for many people from like developed countries. And also there is sometimes a negative connotation for artists and for the professionals that come from developing countries. Like there are that many Russians, that many Chinese, that many Indians, that many Moroccans, and with the whole overflow of the market, sometimes you definitely hear and see that it's a lot of quantity, but not always quality. What do you think about this whole thing?
Well, the notion of quality always change, you know, like for example, what was really quality back in 2008 has nothing to do with quality in 2014 or maybe like 2018 or even like 2020. Like the bar is always in a constant, it's being raised constantly. And the thing is like it's it's always the drive. It has nothing to do with like either like even like the piece. If you're working on a piece of art, like making a project or something, if your drive is to get a job, once you get there, you're at the station, a terminus station. There is nowhere to go from there. But if your drive is to improve, the train just got you in the station. You might walk, you may take another car, you may take another means of transportation to get to at least half the way of your destination. So what's happened is that people start developing from the first 4 to 5 years, the first 5 years, and then they get like they stagnate, so they cannot raise the bar any higher. And that's due to like they've spent a lot of time learning. There is a lot of interaction with the, the outer world, and they may get like negative feedback at their beginning, and that's what drives them to grow. But once they don't start to getting that feedback, they start to think that they've got to the level that is kind of okay, good for the industry, but the industry itself is moving.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is
Definitely.
that when you get the job, that's a good thing because that's gonna help you continue doing what you're doing as as doing it while you're living your life.
So what you're
But
saying
if
is
you,
like always set the bar higher.
yeah, that's basically it. But when you set the hardware, never make it just to get a job.
Okay.
For me, like if you want to really get any job you want, is that you have to know the job you want, what does it take, and look for excellence above that job. So somewhere in the way getting there, you will find yourself that you are at the level that will help you get to the job, but your journey isn't finished. So you get the job and you still have a higher goal, so you can use the job to get to your higher goal. So for example, if you're broke, and getting the job will help you financially, and your goal is still above your getting just a job, you would use all the finance from the job to get to that higher level, and that itself will allow you to get a better job than the one you've set initially, and that's how you keep growing and growing and growing, like
Wow.
over and
That's a
over and
that's a
over.
great insight. I absolutely love the way you're going about this, because this is so true that the industry keeps evolving, and there's just no way you stay where you are, because if you stay, you will start moving backward.
Well, that's the thing. Like if the train is moving and you stop moving with the train, at some point the train will get away and you'll be staying in your place. But the thing is, if you use the train, for example, it's a really long train and you start at the back of the train is moving and you're also moving on the train, your speed is faster than the train.
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
that's how you outgrow almost everyone at some point. And if you find the access to another train, like in front of the train, you will still keep going forward.
That is so cool.
So
Yeah.
never set your goals like same as the industry, because the industry is moving. And the industry at some point might even switch or flip or change direction.
Hmm.
So for example, people used to sculpt faces. They cannot keep doing just that. Like, for example, I used to do a lot of likenesses. Like a lot of my clients contact me for likenesses. I never post likenesses online. They saw something, they contacted me, they asked me, I provide likenesses, they keep doing it, they contact other clients, they talk about it, other clients come to me asking for likenesses and so on. But only that in the future might change. So if you're a leading artist on just doing likenesses, for me, I would suggest, like, instead of just settling with that, maybe you should learn something more advanced than just doing likeness. For example, I'm just setting an
Hmm.
example. So this will allow you to be a leading artist when there is no more need for just likeness. So everyone will know that you've mastered that. So you can do it. You understand it. You are probably like the best guy doing that. And you have another like advanced knowledge that can even help with the whole industry to change or like take another road instead of like spending like
Hmm.
months doing like just one face and like wonder if it's correct or not. So you can save them all that time and spend like 90% of the time perfecting what you're really doing instead of like spending like 90% of the time just trying to create something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, definitely. I think that's a great tip. I think that's a great tip, like always looking forward.
Because what I see, like I get a lot of like juniors, like even like senior artists, and they contact me like, how do you do this? Like, how do you always like get, for example, how do you get to work with these specific companies where you don't even post a lot and like don't have a lot of interaction with people? And the thing is, they don't understand that my work has more interaction with people than I do. And to do that is that what I do, like instead of like trying to make something that looks like something that a company does, I try to pick probably like one of their best work and try to do something really as good, if not better than that. That's what I aim at least. So when I do that and I land that, I'm pretty sure that that work, if it gets to the right people or like gets seen by the right people, they will understand like how much effort I've put to get there. They will understand my level of understanding of the subject and
Mm-hmm.
how I do it. So it's easy this way for them to contact me than me sending my, for example, my application
Yeah.
with probably like thousands of applications, and it might be like seen, maybe not, maybe like the first 10 ones they have someone who filled the profile or something, and
Yeah.
that's it. And people like always like aim really just above their nose, and they expect for everyone to say, yeah, we come abroad.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
might sound really harsh, but from where I'm from where I live and how I become what I've become. That's how I always like work.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to do like better than anyone else so I can stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I don't really stand out, I'm pretty sure that people who does almost the same effort, they will notice me on the road.
Amazing,
That's
amazing. I think that's that's been a whole bunch of really really cool insights, and I absolutely love the story and like your approach to things. Just as we're actually running out of time, I've got one last thing to do. So
sure.
there is a traditional Q&A that we always run by the end of the podcast. So there's just like 10 questions. I'm gonna
Okay.
run them quickly through you. So one word, two, 3 words tops, kind of,
Okay.
like short sentence, and then I let you be. So,
Okay.
ready? Shall I start?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. What's your favorite place in the world?
Uh, for now, it's Tangier, North Africa. Yeah,
Love it. Love
Morocco.
it.
Yeah,
While
I
you're
really love it.
working, while you're working, what you're listening to?
Uh, it can be like really variant, but most of the time it's old school rap.
What's your favorite way to get inspiration?
Uh, mm, there is a lot of ways, but most of them is watching documentaries.
Wow, that's kind of
Yeah,
unusual. Okay.
yeah.
What's your big life goal?
Uh, it might sound like really cheesy, but I really want to become have a legacy.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's your favorite drink?
could be tea.
What is it?
Moroccan tea.
Oh, 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 oh,
Oh
oh.
yeah.
I know why. I know why.
There's never enough sugar.
Never enough sugar. Definitely. Has to be thick from sugar.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I do a lot of sport and I'm on diet. Like now that I said I have some Moroccan tea, I feel like I really need one.
Right. What's the first thing that you do in the morning after you wake up?
I give time to myself. I never check online. I never do this. I wake up. I take like 10 minutes just to say what I want to do today, and like list probably 2 to 3 things that I should be done by the morning, and that's it.
Okay.
The
Awesome.
rest is just avoiding problems, stay healthy.
Awesome. If you didn't become a digital artist, what would you be?
Probably a programmer.
Okay. I thought you were going to
Yeah.
say a doctor or a lawyer or something
No,
like that.
not really. That's what my parents wanted me to do. So even
Yeah.
if I had like a small feeling back then that I want to become a doctor, I've killed it a long
Right.
way.
Got it. What's your favorite movie, let's say?
My favorite movie. Uh, I have two.
Hmm.
It's How to Train Your Dragon and The Incredibles. The
Okay.
first movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Who are some of your legends?
Uh, it's kind of weird, but I would say my father.
Right. What
Yeah.
are some of the top things on your bucket list?
Uh, Things to do.
Yeah. So something that you want to do, like, ideas
Okay.
for like, yeah, top things and I don't know,
Okay.
just like bucket list items.
That's weird. I really want a Ferrari.
Well, now this finally sounds cheesy. The previous one was not cheesy. Now we finally got to the
Yeah.
cheesy moment. I was waiting
Yeah.
for it.
Well, it's kind of funny, like when you say someone like this is. It sounds for me like I'm giving you like 3 wishes, and I may make them like happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a Ferrari. I want to like. No, that's no. The thing is, I really want to stay healthy in the long run. Like be able to enjoy my health till
Uh-huh.
probably like the end my last day, and work on my legacy and help people grow.
Mm-hmm. This is
Those are the
amazing.
three things
Those are
that I
amazing.
really,
Those are amazing wishes. I mean, that's
yeah.
definitely not your typical bucket list items.
uh,
100%.
well, the
I can
thing
coach you.
that's, yeah. Well, then when you said bucket list, I was like, yeah, okay, let's just do this little kid's dream.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I really want to grow and left a legacy of someone who was kind of like special, but special in a way of helping really others to grow and be able to push themselves
Mm-hmm.
harder than what their environment tried to push on them. So
Yeah.
I really want to help people get out of their comfort zone and also not feel like suppressed and or like feel like they can't do anything about their lives. Because for me, like when you really live in an environment that is really hostile,
Mm-hmm.
it pushes you to do certain things and you feel like it really pushes you. But for me, if you really grow and be a little bit like nature and understand what life is all about, you will understand how to get yourself out of all this like pressure that you have to look certain way, you have to do this certain way, you have to be this kind of person or that kind of person. You're really free and you have that freedom. And to get it, you have to work for it. There is a price that you have to pay at the beginning, and the more you work on it, the less that price become, like the smaller it gets,
Definitely. Yeah.
because you get to throw all that bad uh, luggage that you've been stopped with at the
Mm-hmm.
younger age, and then you become really a free person doing whatever you like, the way you like, and this is in terms in respecting all people living around you, and
Mm-hmm.
being a good human being and not
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know, like just live for yourself. I'm not meaning it like as a selfish way, but
Yeah.
it's a way to live in peace and make all people like around you enjoy the life while you're in it, not in your absence.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, Salim, thanks so much. A lot of like deep thoughts and a lot of cool insights. So, yeah, like now just since we're already finishing, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a
You're really
pleasure,
welcome.
and all the best
Perfect.
with your wishes. I really want
Thank
to
you.
see your bucket list come true and a red
Thank you.
Ferrari.
Well, the red Ferrari was a joke, but yeah.
Oh, come
Well, why
on.
not?
Oh, come
Yeah.
on. Why not?
Okay.
Exactly.
But
All
it
right.
was a joke.
Exactly. Yeah. In every joke, there is only part of a joke.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Salim. Have a great day then. Ciao, and
You
thanks
too.
again.
Thanks. Bye.
Quite an amazing story, right? If you guys like this episode, please leave us a review on any platform of your choice. Any review definitely helps us a lot and makes this podcast more discoverable by other digital artists like yourself. Again, if you would like to ask anything, just drop us a comment or a question if you're watching this on our YouTube channel. On the other note, as of today, registration to the waitlist of the Stylized Character program by Art Heroes Academy is open on artheroes.co, and would love to see you in the next intake. So go to artheroes.co and add your name to the waitlist to be invited to join the next intake of Stylized Character program. Thanks so much again for being here, and we'll see you exactly in a week. That was Maria JD.
Thanks for listening to Art Heroes Podcast. Check out www.artheroes.co for show notes, more interviews, and free tools made for you by our team of mentors. Tune in next week for more inspiration, and keep up the great work, hero.